My own children called me a broke loser who embarrasses the family. I'm Gregory Miller, and yesterday they demanded I stop wasting money on deadbeats. What they didn't know? Those deadbeats included them. Every college degree they earned, every success they bragged about, every dollar they used to look down on others. I had secretly paid for it all. They were calling charity cases losers while being charity cases themselves. But I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I simply said, "We'll discuss this Saturday evening." Because sometimes the best revenge is education. Saturday evening, 200 people showed up to thank me. People my children had mocked. People whose lives I'd changed. And when my $2 million helicopter landed in front of the entire community, my kids discovered they weren't just wrong about me. They were wrong about everything. If you've ever been underestimated by the people closest to you, hit that subscribe button, because this story will show you exactly how to handle it. And drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from, because what happened next changed my family forever. This is the story of how one family meeting became the most expensive lesson my children ever received. It started on a Friday evening in my duplex, the same 1,200 square foot place I'd called home for 5 years. Beige vinyl siding, small front porch, nothing fancy. I'd bought it in 2019 for $185,000. Cash. My kids didn't know about the cash part. Jenny arrived first in her BMW X5. She's 33, works in marketing, married with 2 kids. She walked through my door like she was inspecting a crime scene. "Dad, this place still smells like old carpet." Bradley came next. My 30-year-old son, investment banker, always checking his Rolex. He parked his Tesla next to my 2018 Honda Pilot. Silver, 118,000 miles, small dent in the rear bumper from when I helped the Rodriguez family move last month. "Jesus, Dad, when are you getting a real car?" Amanda was last. 28, lawyer, designer, everything. She set her purse down like she was afraid it might catch something. "We need to talk," Jenny announced. "Sit down." They'd planned this. I could tell by how they arranged themselves on my couch. Jenny in the middle, Bradley and Amanda flanking her like bodyguards. "Dad, we're worried about you," Jenny started. "Your lifestyle choices." "You mean my life," I said. "You're an embarrassment to this family," Bradley cut in. "Do you know what my colleagues say when they drive through this neighborhood?" Amanda pulled out her phone. "We've been tracking your spending habits. Last month alone, you gave $340 to pay someone's electricity bill, $1,200 for a car repair that wasn't even your car." The Rodriguez family, single mom, 3 kids. Maria works double shifts as a nurse. Her transmission died the week her youngest started school. "And before that," Jenny continued, "you paid for the Johnson family's groceries. Again. Dad, these people are using you." The Johnsons. Tim lost his construction job in March. Sarah's pregnancy complications meant she couldn't work. Their kids needed to eat. "They're not using me," I said quietly. "They are!" Amanda slammed her hand on my coffee table. "Dad, you're enabling deadbeats. We've built successful careers. We have real responsibilities, and you're out here playing Santa Claus to losers who can't manage their own lives." I looked at each of them. Jenny in her $800 dress, Bradley in his $1,200 suit, Amanda with her designer purse that cost more than most people make in a week. "Tell me about your successful careers," I said. "I'm a senior marketing executive at Morrison & Associates," Jenny said. "Bradley manages portfolios worth $50 million. Amanda's on track to make partner at her firm." "And how did you afford the education for those careers?" They exchanged glances. "Student loans," Jenny said quickly, "and scholarships, merit-based scholarships." "Academic achievement," Bradley added. "We earned everything we have," Amanda finished. I nodded slowly. "I see. And you think I should stop helping people who remind you of what, exactly?" "People who can't help themselves," Jenny said. "Dad, we love you, but you're living like you're broke when you could be living with dignity." "I need $50,000, Jenny continued. "Emma and Jake need private school tuition. The public schools in our district are not suitable." "I need $30,000 for a down payment on a better condo," Bradley said. "Image matters in my business." "And I need $20,000 to join the country club," Amanda added. "Networking is essential for partnership track." $100,000. Between them, they wanted me to hand over $100,000, while telling me I was wasting money on deadbeats. "Is that all?" I asked. The question seemed to surprise them. For now, Jenny said. I stood up slowly. I have plans Saturday evening. We'll continue this conversation then. More charity nonsense? Bradley asked. Something like that, I said. They had no idea what Saturday evening would bring. After they left, I sat in my kitchen and opened the folder I'd been carrying for 15 years. Navy leather portfolio with the Miller Foundation seal, embossed in gold. Inside were documents that would change everything. But first, I had to face what I stood to lose. Jenny had been clear. If you keep embarrassing us with this charity obsession, we'll have to limit the kids' exposure to you. Emma and Jake don't need to see their grandfather acting like a bleeding heart. My grandchildren, Emma, 8 years old, who still drew me pictures of horses, Jake, 6, who called me Grampy and asked me to read him stories about brave knights. Jenny was threatening to cut off my access to them. Bradley had been more direct. Dad, Amanda and I have been talking. Your judgment lately has been questionable. All this money going to random people instead of your family. Maybe we need to have you evaluated. Evaluated. As in competency hearing, as in power of attorney, as in taking control of everything I'd built. Amanda, ever the lawyer, had spelled it out legally. The courts look very unfavorably on elderly individuals who display erratic financial behavior. Giving away money to strangers while family members struggle financially? That's textbook diminished capacity. They thought I was losing my mind. They thought I was some confused old man throwing away their inheritance on strangers. If I stayed silent, if I let them continue believing I was just a broke retiree with a generous heart, I'd lose them completely. They'd institutionalize me. They'd take my grandchildren away. They'd paint me as a senile fool who needed protection from his own kindness. But I wasn't senile, and I wasn't broke. I opened the portfolio and looked at the first document. Miller Foundation Certificate of Incorporation, filed. March 15, 2009. Established 6 months after my wife Sarah died of cancer. 6 months after I realized that having money meant nothing if you didn't use it to honor the people you love. Sarah had been a teacher, 23 years in Cedar Rapids Public Schools. She used to buy supplies with her own money when the district budget ran short. She'd stay after hours to tutor kids whose parents couldn't afford help. She believed education could change everything. When she died, I had a choice. I could sit on the $43 million our construction company had earned over 25 years, or I could do something that would make her proud. I chose to do something. The second document was our latest financial statement. Miller Foundation assets, $896 million. Total distributed over 15 years, $520 million. 2,400 students had received full scholarships. Average amount, $2,167 per semester. Some got more, some got less, depending on need, but every single one had been chosen based on academic merit and financial necessity, including 3 students whose applications had crossed my desk in 2010, 2013, and 2010, Jenny Miller, Bradley Miller, Amanda Miller. They had no idea their merit-based scholarships came from the Miller Foundation. They had no idea their father was the anonymous donor the local newspaper wrote about every year. They had no idea the man they called a broke loser had paid for every dollar of their education. But they were about to find out. My phone buzzed. Text message from Pastor Coleman. Greg, everything's set for Saturday. The whole community's excited to finally thank you properly. Are you ready for this? I typed back. As ready as I'll ever be. Another text. This one from Mayor Patricia Johnson. Mr. Miller, the proclamation is drafted. Anonymous Benefactor Day has a nice ring to it. See you at 6 p.m. I'd been planning Saturday for months. The community had been asking for years to publicly recognize their anonymous donor. I'd always said no, but after tonight, after hearing my children's true feelings about the people I'd helped, I realized it was time. Time for them to meet the 200 scholarship recipients who'd be attending. Time for them to hear from Maria Rodriguez, who'd graduated nursing school last year thanks to Miller Foundation funding. Time for them to see Tommy Chen, whose engineering degree had been fully covered by anonymous donations. Time for them to learn that the charity cases they despised included 3 people sitting in this very room. But if I went through with Saturday's event, there would be no going back. My secret would be public. My children would know the truth, and they'd have to live with what they'd said about the people I'd helped. People just like them. The stakes couldn't be higher. Lose my family by staying silent, or lose my family by telling the truth. Sometimes the hardest choice is between two kinds of heartbreak. I closed the portfolio and made my decision. Saturday morning, my phone started ringing early. Jenny called at 7 a.m. Dad, about last night, we may have been harsh. Harsh how? Well, calling you broke was probably unfair. I mean, you own your house. I appreciate that. But Dad, we're still concerned. This charity thing has gotten out of hand. How so? Yesterday I saw you at the grocery store with that Rodriguez woman. You were buying food for her family. Again. Maria's a hard worker. She needed help. Dad, listen to yourself. These people aren't your responsibility. Who is my responsibility, Jenny? Your family. Your real family. The word real hit like a slap. I'd helped Maria through nursing school. I'd watched her graduate. I'd seen her cry with gratitude when she got her first job at Cedar Rapids General. But she wasn't real family. Bradley called an hour later. Dad, I did some research on that Rodriguez family. Research? Background check. Do you know she was a teenage mother? 3 kids? 3 different fathers. What's your point? My point is, you're throwing good money after bad. These people make poor choices. Like what? Like having kids they can't afford. Like not getting educated. Like expecting handouts instead of working harder. The irony burned. Bradley was criticizing a woman who worked 60-hour weeks while he managed other people's money and complained about his image. Amanda called at noon. Dad, we need to set boundaries. Such as? No more cash gifts to strangers. No more paying other people's bills. No more enabling. Enabling what? Dependency. Dad, when you just give people money, you rob them of the chance to solve their own problems. I see. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're trying to buy friendship from people who see you as an easy mark. An easy mark? Yes, and it's embarrassing. My colleagues know where you live. They drive through your neighborhood. They see you helping these families. These families have names, Amanda. I'm sure they do. But Dad, association matters. When people see you giving handouts to welfare cases, what do you think they assume about our family? I don't know. What do they assume? That we're desperate, that we can't take care of our own father, that we're the kind of people who mix with that element. That element. You know what I mean. I did know what she meant, and it made me sick. At 2 p.m., Jenny called back. Dad, I've been thinking, maybe there's a compromise. I'm listening. What if you helped us first, before you help strangers? How? Well, Emma and Jake still need that private school tuition, $50,000. And if you're determined to give money away, wouldn't it be better to invest in your own grandchildren's future? Instead of investing in other children's futures? Exactly. Your blood should come first. My blood. Dad, these other families, they're not going to take care of you when you're older. They're not going to visit you in the hospital. They're not going to inherit your memories and carry on your legacy. But you will. Of course we will. We're your children. And what have you done to earn that legacy? The question caught her off guard. What do you mean? You're asking me to choose between my grandchildren and other children. What makes Emma and Jake more deserving than Maria's kids? They're your grandchildren. That's not an achievement. That's an accident of birth. Dad, you're being ridiculous. Am I? Tell me what Emma and Jake have done to earn $50,000 that Maria's children haven't done. They don't need to earn anything. They're family. So family doesn't have to earn help, but strangers do. Yes, even if those strangers work harder than family? Dad, that's not the point. What is the point, Jenny? The point is loyalty. The point is taking care of your own. The point is not throwing away your children's inheritance on people who won't remember your name in 5 years. Won't remember my name. No, they won't, but we will. Your grandchildren will. Your legacy lives through us, not through some random families you helped pay bills. I need to go, I said. Why? Where are you going? I have an appointment. What kind of appointment? Community meeting, 6 o'clock. Dad, Please tell me you're not giving away more money tonight. No, I said. Tonight I'm receiving something. Receiving what? Recognition. For what? 15 years of work. What work? Dad, you retired from construction 15 years ago. I started different work 15 years ago. What kind of work? The kind that matters. I hung up. At 5 p.m., I put on my navy blazer and khaki pants. I pinned my small American flag to my lapel. I picked up my leather portfolio and walked to my Honda Pilot. As I backed out of my driveway, I saw Bradley's Tesla parked across the street. He'd been watching my house. My phone buzzed. Text from Jenny. Dad, we're coming to this community meeting. We need to see what you're up to. I texted back. Good, it's time you met some people. What people? The people whose lives matter. I was about to find out if my children could recognize their own reflection. The drive to Cedar Rapids Community Center took 12 minutes. I'd made this drive hundreds of times over the years, but tonight felt different. Tonight, the secret I'd kept for 15 years would finally see daylight. My phone rang as I pulled into the parking lot. Pastor Coleman. Greg, you sure about this? Once we do this, there's no going back. I'm sure. Your kids are going to be shocked. They're going to be more than shocked. You've got a crowd building here. Word spread fast. I think we're looking at over 200 people. 200, good. Maria Rodriguez drove up from Des Moines, brought her kids. She wanted them to meet the man who changed their lives. Maria, the woman my children called a deadbeat. She'd graduated from nursing school with a 3.9 GPA. She'd been hired immediately at Iowa Methodist Medical Center. She made $68,000 a year now. Her kids were honor roll students. Tommy Chen's here too? Flew in from Chicago. Tommy, engineering degree from Iowa State. Started his own firm at 26. Employed 43 people. Another welfare case, according to my children. Greg, I have to ask, are you doing this for the right reasons? What do you mean? Are you doing this to be recognized, or are you doing this to teach your kids a lesson? I thought about that. Both, I suppose. Just remember, revenge and justice aren't the same thing. I know. Do you? Because watching someone you love learn a hard truth, that changes relationships forever. Pastor Coleman was right. After tonight, things with my children would never be the same. But things couldn't stay the same anyway. They'd made that clear. I parked and walked toward the community center. The parking lot was fuller than I'd ever seen it. Cars with license plates from Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska. Young adults who'd driven hours to be here. Inside, I could see people setting up round tables, white tablecloths, centerpieces, a banner across the stage. Cedar Rapids Community Appreciation Dinner. My phone buzzed. Text from Amanda. Dad, we're 5 minutes out. What is this event exactly? I typed, a thank you dinner. For who? Someone who's helped the community. Who? You'll see. Another text from Bradley. Dad, this better not be some charity fundraiser where you're planning to write another check. No checks tonight, I replied. Promise? Promise. I walked inside. The tables were filling up fast. Young faces, middle-aged faces, older faces. All connected by one thing, education they couldn't have afforded otherwise. Mayor Patricia Johnson approached me. Mr. Miller, are you ready for your moment? As ready as I'll ever be. The proclamation's beautiful. Whereas Gregory Miller has, through the Miller Foundation, it provided educational opportunities to over 2,000 students. It goes on for 2 pages. My children don't know yet. About the foundation? About any of it. Oh my, she paused. They're coming tonight? Should be here any minute. How do you think they'll react? I honestly don't know. Maria Rodriguez appeared at my side. She was wearing her nursing scrubs. She'd come straight from her shift. Mr. Miller, I can't believe this day is finally here. How are the kids? Perfect. Sophia's starting high school this fall. Honors classes. Miguel just got accepted into the gifted program. And little Carlos, she smiled, he wants to be a doctor. Says he wants to help people like you helped us. They did that themselves, Maria. You all did that yourselves. No, sir. Without that scholarship, I'd still be cleaning offices at night and trying to raise 3 kids alone. You gave us a future. Over her shoulder, I saw familiar faces entering the room. Jenny in a conservative dress, looking around suspiciously. Bradley checking his phone, clearly annoyed. Amanda scanning the crowd like she was calculating legal risks. They found seats near the back, as far from the stage as possible. "Maria," I said quietly, "see those 3 people in the back? My children." She followed my gaze. "Really? They look successful?" I was going to say angry. "They are. They think I've been wasting money on people like you." "People like me?" "People who needed help." Maria's expression hardened. "They said that?" "They called you deadbeats." "Well," Maria said, straightening her scrubs, "they're about to learn something about deadbeats." The lights dimmed. Pastor Coleman walked to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special evening." My children were about to discover they knew less about their father than the strangers sitting around them. Pastor Coleman's voice filled the room. 15 years ago, someone in our community made a decision that would change thousands of lives. Tonight, we finally get to say thank you. I watched my children from across the room. Jenny was whispering to Bradley, probably asking what this had to do with me. Amanda was checking her phone, clearly wishing she was somewhere else. "Before we begin," Pastor Coleman continued, "I want to invite a few scholarship recipients to share their stories." Maria Rodriguez walked to the microphone first. "My name is Maria Rodriguez. 15 years ago, I was a 19-year-old single mother with 1 baby and no high school diploma. I was cleaning offices at night and living in a studio apartment above the laundromat on First Avenue." I saw Jenny's head snap up. She recognized the neighborhood, the bad part of town she told her kids to avoid. "I wanted to go to nursing school, but I couldn't afford childcare, let alone tuition. Then someone told me about a scholarship program for single mothers. Anonymous donor. No application fee, no credit check, just an essay about why education mattered to me." Maria's voice was steady, but I could hear the emotion underneath. "That scholarship didn't just pay for school, it paid for childcare while I studied. It covered my uniforms, my textbooks, even gas money when my car broke down during finals week. 4 years later, I graduated with honors." She looked directly at my children. "Today, I'm a registered nurse at Iowa Methodist Medical Center. I make $68,000 a year. My 3 children are honor students. My oldest daughter, Sophia, wants to be a doctor. My son, Miguel, is in the gifted program. My youngest, Carlos, already reads at a 6th grade level, and he's only 8. The room applauded. I saw Jenny lean forward, suddenly paying attention. "But here's what the scholarship really gave me," Maria continued. "Dignity, hope, the chance to show my children that education can break any cycle. That anonymous donor didn't just change my life. He changed my children's lives, and their children's lives, and generations yet to come." She paused. "Some people might look at me and see a welfare case, a charity project, a deadbeat who needed a handout. But that anonymous donor saw potential. He saw someone worth investing in. He saw someone who could succeed if given a chance." Maria stepped away from the microphone. Tommy Chen took her place. "My name is Tommy Chen. My parents immigrated from Taiwan with nothing but hope and determination. They worked 3 jobs each. My dad delivered newspapers in the morning, repaired computers in the afternoon, and cleaned offices at night. My mom worked at a factory, babysat neighborhood kids, and took in laundry. Tommy was wearing a Navy suit that probably cost more than my Honda. Even working 18 hours a day between them, they couldn't afford to send me to college. When I got accepted to Iowa State for engineering, the financial aid office said my family made too much money to qualify for need-based aid, but too little to actually pay tuition. I remembered Tommy's application. Straight A's in calculus and physics. Teacher recommendations that called him the most naturally gifted student I've ever taught. Then I got a letter. Miller Foundation Scholarship. Full tuition, books, housing, meal plan. 4 years, renewable based on academic performance. Anonymous donor. He smiled. I graduated summa cum laude, got hired by Boeing immediately, worked there for 3 years, then started my own firm. Chen Engineering now employs 43 people and handles contracts worth $12 million annually. More applause. I saw Bradley sit up straighter. He recognized success when he heard it. But you know what I'm proudest of? Last year I established my own scholarship fund, the Chen Family Educational Foundation. We've already funded 6 students. Because someone believed in me, I can believe in others. Tommy looked around the room. That anonymous donor didn't just give me money. He gave me a model for how to live. How to use success to lift others up. How to see potential instead of problems. As Tommy stepped down, I heard Amanda whisper to Jenny, "These people are actually successful." Jenny whispered back, "That's what Dad's been doing? Funding scholarships?" Before Amanda could answer, Pastor Coleman returned to the microphone. "We've heard from 2 recipients tonight, but they represent 2,400 students over 15 years. Engineers, nurses, teachers, social workers, business owners, military officers, doctors, lawyers, accountants, researchers." He paused. $520 million in educational funding, all from one anonymous donor who believed that talent exists everywhere, but opportunity doesn't. The room erupted in applause. I saw my children looking around, suddenly realizing they were surrounded by people their father had helped. "Some of you may be wondering why this donor remained anonymous for so long," Pastor Coleman continued. "The answer is simple. He wanted the focus to stay on the students, not on him. He wanted their achievements to be their own, not his." I stood up slowly and began walking toward the stage. But tonight, our community has convinced him to accept our gratitude publicly. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the founder and sole benefactor of the Miller Foundation, Gregory Miller. The standing ovation hit me like a wave. 237 people, I could see the exact count from the stage, rose to their feet. Doctors and nurses in scrubs, engineers in business suits, teachers in casual clothes. Young parents holding babies who would never know poverty because their mothers had been given a chance. I looked toward the back of the room. My 3 children sat frozen in their chairs while everyone around them stood and cheered. Jenny's face was white. Bradley's mouth hung open. Amanda stared like she was seeing a ghost. I reached the microphone and waited for the applause to die down. "Thank you," I said quietly. "But before we continue, I need to address 3 people in the back of the room." Every head turned. My children tried to sink into their chairs. "Jenny, Bradley, Amanda, please stand up." They reluctantly got to their feet. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet my children. They're here tonight because they've been concerned about my financial decision-making. They think I've been giving away their inheritance to undeserving strangers." Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. "In fact, just yesterday they told me I was embarrassing the family by helping deadbeats in welfare cases who can't manage their own lives." The laughter stopped. "They demanded I stop wasting money on losers and start focusing on my real family." Uncomfortable silence filled the room. "So tonight, I want them to meet some of those deadbeats in welfare cases and losers." I gestured to the crowd. "Maria Rodriguez, who they believe is using me for money, now saves lives as a registered nurse. Tommy Chen, who they think represents that element I shouldn't associate with, employs 43 people and pays more in taxes than most people earn." My children were trapped. 237 pairs of eyes watching them. "But here's the interesting part," I continued. "My children aren't wrong about one thing. They are looking at charity cases tonight." Confused murmurs. "They're looking at 3 people who received their entire college education through Miller Foundation scholarships. 3 people whose degrees were paid for by the anonymous donor they've been criticizing." The realization hit the room like lightning. Jenny Miller Watson, University of Iowa, 2013. Total scholarship, $43,000. Bradley Miller, Iowa State University, 2016. Total scholarship, $39,000. Amanda Miller, Drake University Law School, 2019. Total scholarship, $41,000. My children stood frozen as the truth sank in. They were the charity cases they'd been mocking. The silence in the room was deafening. 237 people stared at my 3 children, who had gone from critics to beneficiaries in the span of 30 seconds. Jenny found her voice first. "Dad, that's impossible. I had academic scholarships, merit-based funding." "You did have merit-based funding," I said calmly, "from the Miller Foundation. Your GPA was 3.7. Your SAT score was 30/40. You wrote an essay about wanting to help small businesses succeed through better marketing. You were exactly the kind of student the foundation was designed to support." I pulled out my phone and opened the scholarship database. Jenny Marie Miller, born March 15, 1991, University of Iowa, marketing major, 4-year scholarship totaling $43,200, renewable annually based on maintaining a 3.0 GPA. Her face went from white to red. Bradley Michael Miller, born July 22nd, 1994, Iowa State University, finance major, 4-year scholarship totaling $39,800. You wrote your essay about wanting to help families build wealth through smart investing. Bradley's hands were shaking. Amanda Rose Miller, born December 3rd, 1996, Drake University Law School, 3-year scholarship totaling $41,100. Your essay was about using law to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. Amanda sat down hard. The scholarship committee recommended all 3 of you unanimously, bright students from middle-class families whose parents had savings, but not enough for full tuition. Students with potential who needed a bridge to their dreams. Maria Rodriguez stood up. Wait a minute. You mean these 3 have been calling us deadbeats in welfare cases while they were getting the exact same help we got? Tommy Chen followed. They benefited from charity while criticizing charity recipients? A murmur went through the crowd. Not angry exactly, but certainly surprised. Pastor Coleman stepped forward. Now let's remember that everyone here received help when they needed it. That's something to celebrate, not criticize. But the damage was done. My children had spent 2 days insulting people for accepting help they'd unknowingly accepted themselves. Dad, Jenny said, her voice barely audible, why didn't you tell us? I told you the same thing I told everyone else. Nothing. The foundation was designed to be anonymous, so students could succeed without feeling indebted, without wondering if their achievements were earned or given. But we're your children, which is exactly why I couldn't tell you. How would you have felt knowing every dollar of your education came from your father? Would you have felt proud of your degrees? Would you have believed you'd earned them? Bradley finally spoke. You let us think we'd won competitive scholarships. You did win competitive scholarships. The Miller Foundation reviews over 2,000 applications each year. We fund about 400 students. You made the cut based on merit. But you were the judge. I was one of 7 board members. I recused myself from voting on your applications. The other 6 members recommended you unanimously. Amanda looked like she was going to be sick. How long have you been doing this? 15 years, since your mother died. Mom knew? No, I started the foundation 6 months after her funeral. She always said education was the greatest gift you could give someone. I wanted to honor that. Mayor Patricia Johnson approached the microphone. If I may, she said, I think we need some perspective here. Mr. Miller, could you share the scope of what you've accomplished? I nodded. The Miller Foundation has distributed $520 million over 15 years. We've funded 2,400 students through 4-year degree programs. Average scholarship amount, $2,167 per semester. Gasps throughout the room. Those students have become teachers, nurses, engineers, doctors, social workers, business owners, military officers. They've started families, bought out homes, started businesses, employed others, and paid forward the help they received. And the foundation's current assets? The mayor prompted. I hesitated. This was the part I'd never shared with anyone except my accountant and lawyer. $896 million. The room went silent again. Mr. Miller, Pastor Coleman said gently, how's that possible? I sold my construction company in 2009 for $43 million. I invested conservatively but consistently. Real estate, blue chip stocks, municipal bonds. The foundation grew while it gave. Jenny was crying now. Dad, you're saying you're rich? I'm saying I've been blessed with more than I need, and I've tried to use it wisely. But you live in a duplex. You drive a Honda Pilot. I live simply so others can simply live. Amanda stood up. Everyone here thinks we're ungrateful brats. She wasn't wrong. I could see it in people's faces. Not anger exactly, but disappointment. These people had expressed gratitude for help they received. My children had criticized help they'd unknowingly received. I want to say something, Maria Rodriguez announced, standing again. Maria, you don't have to... I started. No, I do. She looked directly at my children. Yesterday you called me a deadbeat. You said your father was wasting money on people like me. Jenny winced. I want you to know who you were talking about. I work 60-hour weeks. I haven't taken a vacation in 3 years. I send money to my parents in Mexico every month. My children have never missed a day of school. I volunteer at the free clinic on weekends. Her voice was steady but firm. I'm not angry that you didn't know my story, but I'm disappointed that you didn't think my story was worth knowing before you judged it. Tommy Chen stood next. I want to add something, Success isn't just about individual achievement. It's about recognizing the help you received and passing it forward. Every scholarship recipient in this room understands that. He looked at my children. The question is, what are you going to do with that understanding now? Before anyone could answer, we heard it. The distinctive sound of helicopter rotors approaching. Everyone looked toward the windows. Through the glass, we could see lights approaching the community center's parking lot. Right on time, I said quietly. Dad, Bradley asked, what's that? That's my ride home. The helicopter landed with precision on the community center's front lawn. A Bell 505, white with blue stripes. Registration number N505GM clearly visible on the fuselage. Through the windows, everyone could see the Miller Foundation logo painted discreetly near the tail. Dad, Amanda whispered, is that yours? It belongs to the Foundation. I'm the Foundation. The rotors wound down slowly. The pilot remained seated, waiting. $2.1 million, I said conversationally. Purchased last year when my arthritis made driving long distances difficult. I use it to visit scholarship recipients across the Midwest. Jenny was staring at the aircraft like it was an alien spacecraft. You have a helicopter. The Foundation has a helicopter. Just like the Foundation has office space in downtown Cedar Rapids, and investment accounts, and a legal team, and an accounting firm. I walked back to the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this evening has given us all a lot to think about. Thank you for 15 years of making me proud to be part of this community. As applause began again, I stepped down from the stage. My children followed me like sleepwalkers. Outside, the pilot had exited and was performing his post-flight inspection. Professional, efficient, discreet. Mr. Miller, he called out, we're ready when you are, sir. Thank you, James. Give me a few minutes. I turned to face my 3 children in the parking lot, with 237 people watching through the community center windows. Now, I said quietly, let's discuss those family boundaries you wanted to establish. Dad, Jenny started, we need to talk about this privately. No. My voice was calm but final. We've had 15 years of private conversations. Tonight we're having a public conversation. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the navy leather portfolio. Jenny, you demanded $50,000 for private school tuition. You said Emma and Jake deserved better than public schools. I opened the portfolio and removed a document. Miller Foundation scholarship record, Emma Watson, age 8. Preschool through 3rd grade funding, $14,200. Paid directly to Montessori Academy of Cedar Rapids. Jenny's mouth fell open. Miller Foundation scholarship record, Jake Watson, age 6. Preschool through 1st grade funding, $11,800. Same school. You paid for your children's private education, anonymously, through a scholarship program for children of Miller Foundation alumni. I turned to Bradley. You need $30,000 for a condo down payment. You said image matters in your business. Another document. Bradley, how much do you think your Iowa State finance degree helped you get your current job? It was essential. Your employer, Morrison Investment Group, has hired 4 Miller Foundation scholarship recipients in the past 10 years. Your boss, Richard Morrison, specifically recruits from our alumni network because, and I quote from his letter to the foundation, Miller scholars understand the value of hard work and giving back. Bradley looked sick. In fact, 3 of your biggest clients are Miller Foundation alumni. The Patterson account, Sarah Patterson, nursing degree, 2018. The Chen Industries portfolio, Tommy Chen, who you met tonight. The Rodriguez Medical Group Retirement Fund, started by Maria Rodriguez's husband, Dr. Miguel Rodriguez. Medical degree funded by Miller Foundation, 2017. You're saying my career. I'm saying your career has been built on relationships with people you call deadbeats and welfare cases. I turned to Amanda. You wanted $20,000 for country club membership. You said networking was essential for partnership track. Final document. Amanda, your law firm has a very interesting hiring pattern. 7 of the last 12 associates hired were Miller Foundation alumni, including you. That's impossible. Your managing partner, Janet Sullivan, sits on the Miller Foundation Board of Directors. She specifically requested that all alumni applications receive priority consideration. Amanda stared at the document. The country club you want to join? Membership committee includes 4 Miller Foundation board members. Your application would have been expedited because of your connection to the foundation. I closed the portfolio. So let's review. You demanded I stop helping people who are dragging down the family reputation. But those people include your children's teachers, your clients, your colleagues, and your supervisors. The helicopter's rotors began spinning slowly. Now, let's establish some new boundaries, I continued. First, no more demands for money without demonstrated gratitude for money already received. You've collectively received over $123,000 in direct educational funding, plus indirect benefits worth at least another $200,000. Jenny was crying. Dad, we didn't know. Second, no more criticism of foundation recipients without first understanding their stories. Every person I help is someone's child, someone's parent, someone's hope for a better future. We understand now, Bradley said. Third, if you want to continue benefiting from the foundation's network and resources, you'll start contributing to it. Not money, time. 20 hours of volunteer work per month, mentoring new scholarship recipients, helping with application reviews, or community service projects. That's fair, Amanda said quietly. Fourth, you'll apologize. Tonight, to Maria, to Tommy, and to every person in that room whose dignity you questioned. They nodded. And finally, I said, walking toward the helicopter, you'll learn the difference between charity and investment. Charity is giving money to make yourself feel better. Investment is giving money to make others better. I paused at the helicopter door. I never gave charity. I made investments. In Maria's potential to heal people, in Tommy's ability to build things, in your capacity to succeed with the right opportunities. The pilot helped me into the aircraft. Every dollar I've given has returned tenfold in human achievement. Maria saves lives. Tommy employs 43 people. You 3 have built careers that serve others, whether you realized it or not. I looked at them through the open door. But the best return on investment? Watching talented people discover they were never charity cases at all. They were always investments waiting to pay dividends. Jenny stepped forward. Dad, where are you going? Home, to my duplex, to plan next year's scholarship cycle. Can we help? That depends. Are you willing to see potential instead of problems? To see opportunity instead of handouts? To see neighbors instead of deadbeats? All 3 nodded. Then yes, you can help. I secured my seatbelt as the pilot began his takeoff sequence. One last thing, I called out over the rotor noise. The Miller Foundation Charter requires unanimous board approval for all major decisions. I've just nominated 3 new board members. Who? Amanda shouted. Maria Rodriguez, Tommy Chen, and Pastor Coleman. People who understand what it means to lift others up instead of putting them down. What about us? You can apply next year, after you've learned what service means. The helicopter lifted off, and I watched my children grow smaller below. 3 successful adults who were about to learn the hardest lesson of all, humility. Through the headset, the pilot's voice crackled. Where to, Mr. Miller? Home, James, but take the scenic route. I want to see the community for a few more minutes. As we circled Cedar Rapids, I could see the lights of houses where Miller Foundation alumni lived. Teachers grading papers, nurses working night shifts, engineers designing better futures, doctors saving lives, 2,400 investments, all paying dividends in human flourishing. My children would be fine. They'd been raised with good values, even if they'd temporarily forgotten them. Tonight would remind them who they really were underneath the entitlement. And if they chose to embrace the lesson, they'd discover something wonderful, the joy of giving others the same chances they'd been given. The next morning, my phone started ringing at 6 a.m. I let it go to voicemail while I made coffee in my modest duplex kitchen. Jenny's voice, Dad, it's me. We stayed up all night talking. We need to apologize properly. Can we come over? Bradley's message, Dad, I called in sick to work today. First time in 3 years. I need to process what happened. Also, I called Maria Rodriguez. She's agreed to meet with me. Amanda's text, Dad, I submitted my resignation from the country club application. Using foundation connections for personal gain feels wrong now. Can we talk? By 10 a.m., they were all sitting in my living room, the same room where they'd called me a broke loser 3 days earlier. Dad, Jenny began, we owe you the biggest apology of our lives. You owe Maria and Tommy and everyone else the apology. I'm just your father. They're the ones whose dignity you questioned. We already called them, Bradley said. Maria's invited us to volunteer at the free clinic next Saturday. Tommy wants us to mentor high school students interested in STEM careers. And Pastor Coleman asked us to help with the next scholarship application review cycle, Amanda added. I nodded. Good starts. But Dad, Jenny continued, we need to understand something. Why didn't you ever tell us you were wealthy? I set down my coffee cup. Because wealth isn't money. Wealth is having enough to share. I wanted you to earn your own sense of worth before you learned about the money. Did we fail that test? You failed the first attempt, but tests can be retaken. Over the next week, the ripple effect spread through our community. The Cedar Rapids Gazette ran a front-page story. Anonymous donor revealed local man funded 2,400 college degrees. The article included interviews with scholarship recipients and a photo of the Community Appreciation Dinner. By Wednesday, Bradley called with unexpected news. Dad, I lost 3 clients. I'm sorry to hear that. No, you don't understand. They specifically requested new advisors after reading the newspaper article. They said they couldn't trust someone who would criticize scholarship recipients while benefiting from scholarships himself. How do you feel about that? Honestly, I feel like I deserved it. But here's the interesting part. I gained 2 new clients, both Miller Foundation alumni who specifically wanted to work with someone connected to the foundation. Amanda had a similar experience. My law firm suggested I take a leave of absence while the story dies down. Apparently, some community leaders questioned my character after reading about Friday night. Are you upset? I was at first. Then I realized they were right to question my character. I'd questioned other people's character without knowing their stories. What will you do with the time off? I'm going to work full-time for the foundation. No pay. I want to understand what you've been doing all these years. Jenny's consequences were more subtle, but perhaps more meaningful. Emma asked me why we were mean to Grandpa's friends. I tried to explain that we hadn't understood the situation, but she said something that stopped me cold. What did she say? Mommy, why didn't you ask Grandpa's friends their names before you decided you didn't like them? 8-year-olds see clearly sometimes. Dad, I've been thinking about what you said, about investment versus charity. I want to start an educational fund for single mothers in marketing, women like Maria who have potential but need support. Using your own money? My inheritance money. The money you plan to leave me anyway. I want to use it now, while I can see the impact. By Friday, something unexpected happened. My phone rang with a call from Richard Morrison, Bradley's boss. Mr. Miller, this is Richard Morrison from Morrison Investment Group. I understand you're Bradley's father. I am. Sir, I wanted you to know that Bradley came to me voluntarily this week. He told me the whole story about Friday night. He asked to be removed from the Miller Foundation alumni accounts until he'd earned back their trust. How did you respond? I told him that kind of integrity is exactly why we hire Miller scholars. He's keeping the accounts, but he's also going to spend 1 day per week working pro bono for foundation scholarship recipients who need financial planning help. That afternoon, Pastor Coleman stopped by. Greg, you need to see this. He handed me a stack of applications. What are these? Volunteer applications. 47 people want to help with foundation work, all parents of current or former scholarship recipients. Including my children? Including your children, but also including people like the Henderson family, whose daughter got her teaching degree through the foundation, the Browns, whose son became a nurse, the Johnsons, whose daughter just started law school on a Miller scholarship. I looked through the applications, teachers, nurses, small business owners, retirees, all wanting to give back. It seems, Pastor Coleman said, that when you finally let people say thank you, they discovered they wanted to do more than just say it. My phone buzzed. Text from Maria Rodriguez. Mr. Miller, your children spent 6 hours at the free clinic today. Jenny organized our supply closet. Bradley helped 3 families create budgets. Amanda researched legal aid resources. They're good people who just forgot how to see clearly. I texted back. People can learn. That's why education matters. She replied, "Thank you for teaching all of us, including them." That evening, sitting in my modest living room, I realized something profound had happened. My children hadn't just learned about humility and gratitude. They'd discovered the joy of service. Sometimes the best way to find yourself is to help others find their way. 3 months later, the Miller Foundation board meeting looked very different. Maria Rodriguez, now our newest board member, presented the quarterly scholarship report. 237 new applications this cycle. Average GPA 3.6, 42% first-generation college students. Tommy Chen, our youngest board member, reviewed the mentorship program. 118 current scholars paired with alumni mentors. Retention rate 94%. Jenny, serving as volunteer coordinator, reported on community outreach. 63 families assisted with scholarship applications. Bradley's financial literacy workshops have helped 89 families create college savings plans. Amanda, now our pro bono legal counsel, handled policy updates. We've streamlined the application process and added hardship provisions for students facing family emergencies. I looked around the conference table in our new foundation offices downtown. From this room, we distributed $623 million over 16 years. But more importantly, we'd build a community that understood the difference between handouts and hand-ups. "Any new business?" I asked. "Actually, yes," Jenny said. "Emma and Jake want to start a children's foundation. They've been saving their allowances to help kids whose families can't afford school supplies." "Age 8 and 6? They said if Grandpa can help kids go to college, they can help kids go to elementary school." I smiled. "Motion to establish the Watson Children's Foundation as a subsidiary program." "Seconded," said Maria. "All in favor?" 7 hands rose unanimously. After the meeting, I drove home to my duplex in my Honda Pilot. Same house, same car, same simple life. But everything had changed. My children had learned that true wealth isn't what you accumulate. It's what you circulate. That dignity isn't something you're born with. It's something you choose every day. That family isn't just about blood. It's about who you're willing to lift up. As I pulled into my driveway, I noticed a note tucked under my door. Emma's handwriting in purple crayon. "Dear Grandpa, thank you for teaching Mommy and Daddy and Aunt Amanda how to help people. We love you. P.S. Jake says your helicopter is really cool." I sat on my front porch and read the note twice. 16 years ago, I'd started giving money away to honor my wife's memory. Tonight, I realized I'd done something better than I'd intended. I'd raised a generation that understood what Sarah always knew. Education isn't just about learning facts. It's about learning to see every person's potential. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Mr. Miller, this is Carlos Rodriguez, Maria's youngest son. I'm 8 now, and I still want to be a doctor. Thank you for helping my mom help me. Someday I'll help other kids too." I texted back, "Carlos, someday is closer than you think." Sometimes the greatest inheritance you can leave isn't money. It's the understanding that everyone deserves a chance to become who they're meant to be. Have you ever been underestimated by family? Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And remember, charity is giving someone what they need. Investment is giving someone what they deserve, a chance to succeed. That's the lesson my children learned when my helicopter landed and the truth finally took flight.